When the lights go out, chaos takes over. Most people freeze, panic, or make desperate choices. But there's one skill, just one, that separates the survivors from the statistics. And no, it's not hunting, fire building, or hoarding a basement full of canned beans. It's something far more subtle, far less glamorous, but infinitely more powerful. History has shown us what happens when systems collapse. In 1923 Germany, people burned stacks of cash because it was worth less than firewood. In Venezuela, a month's salary couldn't even buy a bag of rice. When the grid goes down, whether it's power, money, or law, survival doesn't belong to the strongest or the toughest. It belongs to those who can adapt the fastest. And here's the terrifying truth. This one skill works in every survival scenario. Economic collapse, natural disasters, total societal breakdown. If you have it, you'll thrive. If you don't, well, let's just say you'll be standing in the wrong line when the food runs out. So what is this life-saving skill? It's not brute strength or blind luck. It's pre-planning and risk assessment. The ability to think ahead, to see the disaster before it happens, and to act before it's too late. Stay tuned, because this skill could mean the difference between life and death. Mastering fire without modern tools. When the grid fails and darkness takes over, one truth becomes undeniable: fire is no longer a luxury. It's survival itself. In a world without power, the ability to create fire without matches or lighters becomes the ultimate life-saving skill. Forget stockpiles of fuel or fancy gadgets. They run out. They fail. But the knowledge of how to summon fire from nothing, that's eternal. Picture this. It's a freezing night. The temperature is plummeting, and the shadows feel alive. You're cold, vulnerable, and every instinct is screaming for warmth. With just your hands, a few basic tools, and the right know-how, you can turn a handful of dry twigs into a roaring blaze. That's not just survival, it's defiance against the elements. Fire isn't about brute strength. It's about understanding its delicate science. Friction methods like bow drills, spark-based techniques with flint and steel, or even harnessing sunlight with a magnifying glass. Each method is a lifeline when modern conveniences are gone, and if you're resourceful, even a battery and steel wool can ignite hope in the darkest of nights. But fire is more than heat. It's a shield against predators, a tool for boiling water, and a beacon in the pitch-black void. It's psychological armor. When the world feels like it's closing in, a steady flame whispers, "You're still in control." While others fumble with wet matches or empty lighters, you'll already have a fire blazing, melting snow for water, cooking food, and keeping the darkness at bay. In a blackout, fire isn't just survival, it's power. And those who master it will outlast those who don't. 2. Turning any water into life. If fire is survival's heart, water is its lifeblood. When the taps run dry and the pumps stop humming, water becomes the most precious resource. But here's the terrifying truth. Not all water is safe. A single sip of contaminated water can turn a bad situation into a death sentence. That's why the ability to purify water in any condition is a skill that separates the survivors from the doomed. Imagine stumbling across a muddy puddle or a stagnant stream. It's wet, but is it safe? Without the right knowledge, you're gambling with your life. Purifying water isn't just about tossing in a tablet or using a fancy filter, it's about understanding the process so you can adapt when your gear fails. Boiling remains the gold standard. Bring water to a rolling boil for at least a minute, and you've killed most pathogens. But what if you can't boil? That's when you get creative. A DIY filter made from charcoal, sand, and cloth can turn murky water into something drinkable. Or harness the sun's UV rays by leaving water in a clear plastic bottle for hours. Survival means reading water like a map. Is it clear but stagnant? Is it flowing but near potential contaminants? Knowing the risks and spotting danger signs can save your life. And when you can turn even the dirtiest puddle into drinkable water, you're no longer tied to your stockpile. You're free to move, adapt, and survive. Water purification isn't just about staying hydrated, it's about staying alive. It's the difference between thriving and succumbing to dehydration or disease. And in a world where clean water is rare, the ability to create it is nothing short of freedom. 3. Cooking without the grid. When the power's gone and the fridge is nothing but a warm box of spoiled food, the ability to cook off-grid becomes a survival necessity. This isn't about gourmet meals. It's about staying fed, warm, and alive when the conveniences of modern life vanish. Open flames become your new kitchen. A propane camping stove, a rocket stove, or even a simple wood-burning setup can mean the difference between a hot meal and cold rations. But here's the catch. You can't wait until the blackout to figure it out. Practice now. Learn how to control the heat, how long your fuel lasts, and what meals you can cook with minimal resources. Cold weather adds another layer of urgency. A small, well-ventilated fire pit or wood stove can double as a heat source while you cook. But ventilation isn't optional. Carbon monoxide is a silent killer. When it comes to food, simplicity is survival. Shelf-stable items like canned goods, rice, pasta, and dehydrated meals are your best allies. High-calorie, low-prep meals keep you going without draining your fuel supply. A pot of rice with canned beans and spices might not be glamorous, but it's life-sustaining. And don't overlook the tools. Cast iron skillets, steel pots, and enamel-coated cookware are your best friends. They're durable, heat evenly, and are easy to clean when water is scarce. For the truly prepared, baking without an oven is a game-changer. Dutch ovens, solar cookers, or even improvised earth ovens can turn basic ingredients into bread. In a world of cold rations, the smell of fresh bread is a morale boost that money can't buy. Cooking off-grid isn't just about food, it's about normalcy. The warmth of a meal, the sound of a bubbling pot, the smell of something cooking. It's a reminder that even in chaos, you can create comfort. And in survival, that mental edge is everything. Force finding your way without GPS. In today's world, we've handed over our sense of direction to a glowing screen. But what happens when that screen goes dark? When the grid collapses, and your GPS is nothing more than a useless brick? The ability to navigate without it becomes a matter of life and death. Lose your way in a crisis. And you're not just lost, you're vulnerable. Navigation isn't about memorizing every street or trail. It's about understanding your environment on a deeper level. Start now, while the world is still functioning, by mapping your surroundings in your mind. Where's the nearest water source? Which roads are likely to be blocked or dangerous in an emergency? What's the safest route out of your neighborhood on foot? These are the questions that could save your life. A paper map might seem like a relic of the past, but in a blackout it's a survival essential. Learn to read one. Not just the streets, but the contour lines, elevation changes, and natural landmarks. These details can mean the difference between finding a safe path or wandering into a dead end. Pair it with a compass, and you've got a powerful survival tool. But owning a compass isn't enough. You need to know how to use it. Practice setting bearings, aligning it with your map, and following a straight path. And then there's natural navigation, the ancient art of reading the world around you. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. The North Star is a constant guide in the northern hemisphere. Even moss on trees can hint at direction. These aren't just fun facts, they're survival tools that humans relied on for millennia. In a crisis, knowing where you're going isn't just about avoiding danger. It's about staying ahead of it. When the roads are chaotic and the crowds are panicked, the ability to navigate without technology could be the skill that keeps you alive. 5. Life-saving first aid on the fly. When the blackout hits, hospitals will be overwhelmed, ambulances delayed, and pharmacies locked tight. In that chaos, the first responder to an injury won't be a paramedic, it'll be you. And if you don't know how to improvise first aid, a minor injury can quickly spiral into a life-threatening situation. First, you need to stay calm. Panic spreads like wildfire, and if you lose control, so will everyone around you. Take a deep breath, assess the situation, and ensure your own safety before jumping in. Remember, 2 injured people are worse than 1. For wounds, clean water becomes your best friend. If you don't have antiseptic, boiled and cooled water can flush out dirt and bacteria. No sterile bandage. Tear up a clean cotton shirt to create makeshift strips. Apply firm pressure to stop bleeding. It'll hurt, but it's better than the alternative. Broken bones and sprains are another challenge. Without a proper splint, you can use sticks, rolled up magazines, or even sturdy cardboard to immobilize the limb. Secure it with cloth strips or duct tape. But don't cut off circulation. Burns are a common risk in blackout scenarios, especially when cooking over open flames. Cool the burn with water, not ice, for at least 10 minutes. Then cover it loosely with a clean cloth. For fevers or heat exhaustion, shade and hydration are critical. In winter, hypothermia becomes the enemy. Layer clothing, use blankets, and share body heat to keep someone warm. Improvised first aid isn't about replacing professional care, it's about buying time. It's about using what you have, whether it's a scarf, a belt, or a water bottle, to stabilize the situation. In a blackout, your ability to act quickly and resourcefully could mean the difference between life and death. 6. Building emergency shelter. When disaster strikes, shelter isn't just about comfort. It's about survival. Exposure to the elements can kill faster than hunger or thirst. And in a blackout, your home might not be the safe haven you expect. Knowing how to build an emergency shelter could be the skill that keeps you alive. The first rule of shelter is location. High, dry ground is your best bet. Away from flood zones, dead trees, or unstable structures. If you're in a forest, look for natural formations like caves or dense thickets to save time and effort. In open areas, you'll need to get creative. A tarp, poncho, or even large trash bags can become a waterproof barrier against the elements. Next comes structure. The simplest design is a lean-to, branches propped against a horizontal support, covered with foliage or fabric. If you have more time, an A-frame or debris hut offers better insulation. In cold climates, snow shelters like igloos or Quincy huts can trap body heat and keep you alive through freezing nights. But walls alone won't save you. The ground can drain your body heat faster than the air, so insulation is critical. Lay down a thick layer of leaves, pine needles, or even spare clothing to create a barrier. And remember, staying dry is staying alive. Safety is just as important as comfort. If you need to stay hidden, camouflage your shelter with natural materials. If you want to be found, make it bright and visible. And never build a fire inside without proper ventilation. Smoke inhalation can be deadlier than the cold. In a world turned upside down, your shelter is your fortress. Build it wisely and it will protect you long enough to plan your next move. 7. Harvesting food from nature's shadows. When the grid collapses and hunger sets in, the world around you transforms. That patch of weeds in your backyard? It's no longer an eyesore. It's a potential meal. That squirrel darting up a tree? It's not just a cute critter anymore. It's survival on 4 legs. Hunting and foraging aren't glamorous, but they're primal skills that have kept humanity alive for thousands of years. The first rule of securing food is knowing your environment. In the woods, small game like rabbits, squirrels, and birds are your best bet. They're more abundant and easier to catch than larger prey. Traps and snares, crafted from wire, cord, or even shoelaces, can work while you focus on other tasks. Near water, fishing is your golden ticket. A simple hook and line can provide a steady source of calories with minimal effort. Foraging, however, is a double-edged sword. Edible plants like dandelions, cattails, and wild berries can be lifesavers, but nature is full of deadly lookalikes. If you're not 100% certain a plant is safe, don't eat it. Mushrooms in particular are a gamble, unless you're an expert. And don't overlook insects. They're protein-packed and often abundant. Crickets, grasshoppers, and certain larvae can be cooked and eaten, though it might take some mental adjustment. Once you've secured food, preservation becomes critical. Smoking, drying, or salting meat prevents spoilage and ensures you don't waste precious calories. Hunting and foraging aren't just about filling your stomach, they're about reconnecting with ancient instincts and adapting to a world where convenience no longer exists. Practice now, because when the supermarket shelves are empty, desperation won't teach you what you need to know. 8. Defending yourself when rules disappear. When society crumbles, so do its rules. In a blackout, your safety is no longer guaranteed, and basic self-defense becomes a non-negotiable skill. But self-defense isn't just about throwing punches, it's about awareness, deterrence, and survival. The first layer of defense is your mindset. Avoidance is your greatest weapon. Stay alert, trust your instincts, and remove yourself from dangerous situations before they escalate. If someone gives you a bad feeling, you don't need a reason to walk away. Survival isn't about pride, it's about staying alive. Next is deterrence. Confidence and body language can make you a less appealing target. Criminals look for easy prey, so don't give them that impression. Maintain a safe distance, make eye contact, and project an air of control. When avoidance and deterrence fail, physical skills come into play. You don't need to be a martial arts expert. A few simple moves can save your life. Strikes to vulnerable areas like the eyes, throat, and groin can create the opening you need to escape. Improvised weapons like a flashlight, pen, or rock can give you an edge. Defending your home or camp is just as important. Secure entry points, set up noise traps, and keep tools within reach. In extreme cases, deterrents like pepper spray or defensive weapons may be necessary, but these require training and a clear understanding of the risks. Remember, survival isn't about winning a fight, it's about avoiding one. Self-defense is the skill that keeps you alive long enough to find safety, regroup, and keep moving forward. 9. Keeping your tools alive. In a survival scenario, your tools are your lifeline. But unlike in the movies, they won't magically fix themselves. A dull knife, a rusted hatchet, or a broken fishing rod can turn a bad situation into a nightmare. That's why learning to repair and maintain your gear is a survival skill you can't afford to ignore. Start with the basics. Cleaning and rust prevention. Dirt, moisture, and neglect are the enemies of any tool. After every use, wipe down metal surfaces and store them in a dry place. If you have oil, vegetable, mineral, or even rendered animal fat, use it to coat metal and prevent corrosion. Sharpening is another must-know skill. A sharp edge on a knife or axe makes work faster, safer, and more efficient. A whetstone is ideal, but in a pinch, a flat rock or the unglazed bottom of a ceramic mug can restore an edge. Handles are often the first part of a tool to fail. Wooden handles on hammers, axes, and shovels will eventually crack. Knowing how to carve a new one from hardwood, fit it snugly, and secure it with wedges or bindings can extend the life of your tool. For mechanical tools like fishing reels or multi-tools, basic lubrication and part replacement are key. Small screws, springs, or wire can often be scavenged from other broken items. The golden rule of survival: take care of your tools and they'll take care of you. In a long-term emergency, replacement isn't an option. Only repair is. 10. Communicating without technology. When the grid goes down, so does instant communication. No texts, no GPS, no social media. In a blackout, the ability to send a message without technology becomes a survival necessity. Start with visual signals. A smoky fire during the day or a bright fire at night can signal for help. 3 puffs of smoke or 3 flashes of light with a mirror or flashlight is a universal SOS. Brightly colored tarps or clothing can also draw attention from the air. Audible signals are another option. Whistles are lightweight, loud, and carry farther than a human voice. 3 short blasts signal distress. In wooded areas, banging on metal or hollow logs can travel surprising distances. Physical messages are old school but effective. Use chalk, charcoal, or carvings to leave symbols on trees or rocks. Pre-arranged signs with your group, like arrows for direction or an X for danger, can guide others silently. For group coordination, runners and relays are ancient but reliable method. Assign people to cover set distances and pass messages along. For longer-term scenarios, develop code systems using hand signals, knots, or rope to keep communication clear and secure. In survival, communication isn't about convenience, it's about clarity and speed. When technology fails, your ability to send a message could mean the difference between rescue and isolation. At the end of the day, survival after a blackout isn't just about stockpiles, it's about skills. Timeless, adaptable, and rooted in human ingenuity. Because when the world goes dark, it's not the strongest who survive, it's the smartest.